Yeah, it's your boy Crypto Blood, and welcome to another episode of My 2 Cents, where I cover 9 crypto-related topics like pop culture, sports, finance, science, and automotive. Today, we're talking about science. But before we even get into that, the song I'm playing today, boy, Eminem Kill Shot. Hey, man, Machine Gun Kelly, you don't want it with us, man. D-Town, stand up. One of the greatest rappers to ever do it. Eminem diss track back at Machine Gun Kelly. You guys haven't heard this one, go check it out. He killed this guy, Machine Gun Kelly. Cleveland, man, I'm sorry, but you got to come better than that. But what's good, people? Today, we're going to be talking about an article that's out of Zerohedge. I saw this morning, actually. Zerohedge tweeted this morning, and it caught my attention. So basically, NASA has upped their Planetary Defense Coordination Office budget. It's up to $150 million. So we're going to take a look at this. And, I posed a question like, would NASA ever let us know in advance of a catastrophic asteroid to hit the Earth? I don't think so. I personally don't think they would. Maybe at the last minute if they can't figure out a way to divert that asteroid, but hey, they may not even do it at the last minute. But this article poses that question because out of nowhere, again, their budget has jumped up to $150 million. I'm not sure what the budget was beforehand, so we'll look at that. Maybe this article will give us the details about that. I saw this and I'm like, yeah, let's talk about this. So this is out of Zerohedge. So it says there is an asteroid coming. NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office budget suddenly spikes to $150 million. And I think that was like a threefold from where it was at $60 million. So it's definitely something going on. If there was no reason to increase this, they wouldn't, in my opinion, especially with such tight budgets that we're on. So let's take a look at what's going on here. It said it didn't make many national headlines, but the proposed budget for NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office was just increased by $90 million. At a time when our national budget is already stretched to the max, it seems like an odd thing to spend so much money on. As you will see below, the Planetary Defense Coordination Office is only 2 years old, and it is in charge of tracking threats posed by near-Earth objects such as asteroids. Needless to say, if a giant asteroid suddenly hit our planet, it would be the greatest catastrophe in modern times. And for those of us that survived, our lives would definitely be different from then on. So the threat is real, but in recent years, NASA has assured the public that there are no imminent threats. Michael Snyder, the author of this article, says here this is a subject that he is particularly interested in, and so a political article about NASA's asteroid defense program definitely caught his eye. It says here that the Trump administration has proposed increasing the budget for NASA's Planetary Defense Coordination Office by threefold, from $60 million to $150 million. This is crazy, amid growing concerns that humanity is utterly unprepared for the unlikely but still unthinkable, an asteroid strike of calamitous proportions. White House also recently issued a new national near-Earth object preparedness strategy and action plan intended to energize a host of agencies who could contribute to potential ways to prevent such a disaster. First of all, he says, why spend $90 million that we don't have if there is nothing to be concerned about? And then secondly, why issue a brand new plan that is intended to energize a host of agencies who could contribute to the potential ways to prevent such a disaster if there is no disaster looming for the foreseeable future? Something doesn't smell right about all of this, he says. According to NASA, there are more than 25,000 asteroids lurking out there that are about 140 meters in size or greater. And overall, there are approximately 1 million near-Earth objects that could pose a potential threat. So it definitely makes sense to be prepared for such disaster. If and when the interplanetary asteroid apocalypse comes, NASA plans to be prepared, it says. In a little notice move this week, the space agency announced that it had created a directorate for detecting and tracking near-Earth objects. The new Planetary Defense Coordination Office, which despite its scientific fiction sounding name, is part of a very real effort to ward off the potentially deadly impact of asteroids that may hit the planet. They are in charge of supervising all NASA's funded projects to find and characterize asteroids and comets that pass near Earth's orbit around the sun. At the time, it was being reported that one of the primary tasks of this new agency was to find a new way to redirect potentially dangerous asteroids. The office is also developing long-term planetary defense goals. Even if intervention is not possible, NASA would provide expert input to FEMA about impact timing, location, and effects to inform emergency response operations. In return, FEMA would handle the preparations and response planning related to consequences of atmospheric entry or impact to U.S. communities, the space agency noted. Snyder goes on to say here, today the Planetary Defense Coordination Office is being headed up by former Air Force officer Lyndon Johnson, and what he recently told Politico about what a major asteroid impact would mean for our nation was quite chilling. He said here, as we studied the problem more, we looked at the effects of an impact of even a 100+ meter sized object. If it were to impact near a metropolitan area, it would be a disaster on a scale more than anything we've tried to deal with in our history. So the threshold that we wanted to look for these things was lowered actually to 140 meters in size based upon a study that NASA sponsored. It would be an existential threat to national well-being. The efforts of it would have a significant impact to our society and a nation as a whole. In a previous article, Snyder discussed the fact that the head of Russia's space agency has publicly stated that an 885-foot wide asteroid known as Apophis will surely collide with the Earth in the 2030s. Wow. The 2030s may seem like the distant future right now, but to me it seems like it was just yesterday that the calendar was rolling over from 1999 to the year 2000. That's very true. And of course, there are so many threats that the major space agencies don't even know about at this point. For example, the huge meteor that recently exploded over a U.S. military base in Greenland was a complete surprise to authorities. According to a very disturbing study that was conducted at the University of California at Santa Cruz, if a very large asteroid hit the Atlantic Ocean, we could potentially see a tsunami wave as high as 400 feet slam into the east coast of the United States. Wow, we are talking about a disaster that would wipe out Miami, Charleston, Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Philly, Boston, and New York City, along with countless other cities. Today, 39% of all Americans live in a county that directly borders a shoreline. And so we are extremely vulnerable. And scientists assure us that it is only a matter of time before we see more giant tsunamis like the one that devastated Japan in 2011. Even if no asteroid hits us in the near future, the crust of the planet is becoming increasingly unstable, and this is particularly true along the Ring of Fire. So a fun tidbit, if you guys did not know the difference between like a asteroid, a meteoroid, or a comet, let's just take a look at that really quickly. So the top one there is, of course, we know a comet, and that's a chunk of ice and rock originating from the outer solar system. And then below that, an asteroid, and that is a rock in orbit generally between Mars and Jupiter. And then a meteoroid is a space rock that's bigger than a dust grain but smaller than an asteroid. If it strikes Earth, it's then a meteorite, and that's what you see at the bottom at the Earth's surface level, a meteorite. But before a meteoroid becomes a meteorite, it's first a meteor, which is the streak of light seen when a space rock enters the atmosphere, and then finally the meteorite. Yeah, but if we have an asteroid hit us, man, it won't go through those other levels of degradation. It's just gonna come straight flying in as a big ass asteroid and hit the ground. I wonder if, what do they call an asteroid that hits the Earth? Is that still considered a meteorite? I don't think so, but that's a little tidbit for you. But what do you guys think? It's definitely a serious thing. And honestly, I'm surprised we haven't had more. Before reading this article, I had no clue about this one that's supposed to hit us in 2030 or in the 2030s. Hey, that changes the game. 2030 is only 12 years away. So that's definitely within our lifetime. If you knew there was an asteroid coming in 12 years, would you live life differently? I probably, at this point, probably not. But as we get closer to those time frames of that thing hitting the earth, I definitely think I would be living life like YOLO, right? And no doubt. So you guys let me know, do you think NASA's hiding something and they're just trying to keep things under wraps and not let us know and have us panic out here? But yeah, I don't know, man. I think there's something definitely going on. You guys give me your 2 cents on the subject, and we're gonna rock out to this Eminem kill shot for the rest of this video. Detroit, stand up. It's your boy Crypto Blood. That's my 2 cents for today. Holla! Mama, don't play this at church.